Hello friends, welcome back. In this video, we are going to learn about user account management, how to use useradd, usermod, and userdel commands. These commands are actually used to modify a user profile to create a user profile. And we will also see how it impacts the Linux file system, what kind of files are impacted when we actually create a user or modify a user or delete a user. So without wasting time, let's get started. As you can see, I'm already logged into Kali Linux file system. Kali Linux system, and I will open the terminal. So first of all, let's try to create a user profile. So what kind of command are we going to use? We will use useradd command. Let me zoom in here so that you can view my screen clearly in big bold letters. Where am I right now? Let me print working directory. I am in my home directory right now. So how to create a user profile? Let's say I want to create a new profile name and I want to name it as test user. So I will type in. First of all, I will switch to root account. I'm now logged in as root. I will type in useradd and the name of the profile that I want to create. Let's name it as test user. Okay, so the command executed successfully. So what happens after that? How to verify if my account has been created or not? There is a good command. There is a command that we can use. It's called ID and the test profile that we just created. As you can see, for each profile that we create, Linux system create a UID. In this case, UID is 1006. Also, it also creates a group with the same name, which is test user, and it also assigns an ID to that, which is called group ID. As you can see, the UID and group ID both are same. Group, it will assign it to the group. Group name is again same 1006. So we can see that using useradd command, we have successfully created a user. Let's assign a password to that user. Let's create a password for that user. So how to do that? I will type in password. Remember, just notice there is no O here or no R here, just pass and WD. And I will type in the profile name here. In this case, we have test user. Sorry, I misspelled that. So it will ask me to enter the password. Let me type in a simple password here. It will ask me to retype the new password. Again, I will retype the same password. So the password has been created successfully. Now what actually happened behind the scene in the Linux system? What files, as you already know, Linux and everything is a file in Linux. So what kind of files were updated when we actually created a new profile? There are a couple of files. Those are called system files. And let me show you that. Let me go to the cd temp directory. I'm sorry. Let me clear the screen first. Go to cd and etc directory. All the system files are here in the etc directory. If I type in ls minus ltr and also type in password, so you can see there is a file with the name password, and it's accessible only to the root user. Other users only have read access to this file. So let me open this file now using the Vim editor. If I open this file, let me see what happens. Here you can see these are the rows. The first row is for the root user, and the one that we just created. Let me scroll down a bit. So there is an entry for this user as well, the one that we just created. Let me exit that quickly, and it's better if we see that using cat command. Cat. See this last entry, test user. This is the one that we just created. The first one is the username. Second one is actually for the password file, which is encrypted and is stored somewhere else. I will show you what kind of file is stored passwords. It's again in the encrypted format, so you cannot view that in the plain text. Next is the group number and the group ID number. This is the home directory, and this is the shell that the user is gonna use, the bin shell. These are the default uh, entries that are created whenever you create a user profile. Another system file that gets updated when we create a user is a shadow file. Let's see what happened in that file. Cd shadow. Again, it's in the etc directory. Shadow. I'm sorry, cat shadow. As you can see, an entry has been made for this particular user, the one that we just created. And this is the hashed password, the encrypted password, which is actually saved here. So you can see by creating a user, we are actually updating two system files. One is the password and one is shadow. Let's do some experiments on that password file. Let's see if we can actually edit that file and make the changes. Let me once again open that file, the password file. Okay, let me change that. Let me change the group ID. Let me make it 1007. This one too. Let me change the username as well and the home directory as well. Okay, let me save it. Once again, I will run the id command. Nothing, it's gone. Let me check the id command for the one that we just modified, test user 1. As you can see, I was able to modify the user profile using the file itself. But there is another way, there is another simpler way to do that. I can simply do that using usermod command. Minus L for login. Let's say we want to change the user profile from test user 1 to test user 2. So I will type in the new ID, test user 2, minus M for modification, minus D for the home directory. We are going to name the home directory as home, test user 2. Okay. And the shell will be for each profile there would be a shell here that will be saved in bin directory as sh. And which profile we are going to change? We are going to change test user 1. So we will type in test user 1 here. Let's review this command once again. User mod to modify the user profile, minus L stands for login. So what would be the login for new user? The new profile that is going to be created, it's test user 2. Minus M stands for modification. Minus D for home directory. For each user, home directory is created by default. So in this case, the home directory would be slash home slash test user 2. And the shell is also assigned to each user whenever the profile is created. So in this case, it would be saved in bin shell directory. And the name of the file, that name of the user profile that we are modifying is test user 1. So let's hit enter and see what happens. Okay, that's okay. So the command was executed successfully. How we can verify that? Again, id test user 2. As you can see, we didn't mention the group ID or the user ID, so by default Linux assigned the group ID and the user ID to this user. Let me verify that. Cat shadow file, and let's see if the entry has been created for that user, the one that we recently modified. Okay, we haven't set the password. As you can see that we have not set the password yet for the new user. So an entry has not been made yet in the shadow file. What about password file? Yes, the entry has been made here. From test user 1 has is gone and test user 2 entry is there. So the moment we update the password and then we will go and check in shadow file, you will see an entry being created there as well. Let me do that quickly here. Password test user 2, enter, and new password. Let me enter the new password quickly. Now let's go to that shadow file and see. So till the time we set the password for the user, an entry is not created in shadow file. But the moment we create a user, immediately an entry is made into the password file. Hope this is clear. Let's do a quick recap of all the topics that we have covered in this video. First of all, we learned about useradd command. We created a user profile using useradd. Second, we reviewed the shadow file as well as the password file in etc directory and notice what all changes are being done there. Whenever we create a profile, an entry is created for the user in the password file. And when we set the password, a corresponding entry is created in the shadow file. Then we learned how to modify the user profile manually in the Vim editor. We make the changes in the Vim editor, and same were reflected when we tried to ID that profile. And then we try to modify the profile using usermod command. Next, we are going to learn userdel command, how to delete the user. But before that, let's do a quick review of the shadow file as well as the password file and learn what all those columns mean. Let's begin with the password file. So we have this profile here. This is a good example. The first one, the first column, it means the user profile, the user login name, the one that we use to log in when we enter the Linux system. The second one is a placeholder, a password placeholder. The corresponding entry for this placeholder is created in the shadow file. The third one is UID. For each user, there is a UID created in the Linux file system. Then the fourth one is the group ID. The fifth one is some comment. Uh, we can actually modify that, and it won't mean anything to that system. The sixth one is home directory. For each user, each profile that we create in Linux, a corresponding home directory is created, often by the same name, but you can manually change that. You can name it anything that you want. We can modify that. The last one is the shell file. Uh, the absolute path of the shell file that the user will be using as their primary shell after they log in. Whenever you log in, you have a shell, that open in front of you, mostly in like shell sh or zsh. I mean, these are the shell uh, that we use in Linux file system. So this kind of entry is all created in the password file. So next, move to the shadow file. What happens in the shadow file there? Let's quickly review that. So first one is again the user login. The second one is the encrypted password in the hashed format. This is not plain text, and the this is a hash password, and if this field is empty, the user will have the passwordless entry into the system. That means that user will not need any password to log into the system. The third field is the last change. Fourth field express the minimum number of days that must elapse before the user is allowed to change their password. Okay. The fifth field defines the maximum number of days the password validity before the user password expire and must be changed. The last field is a warning. Sorry, the sixth field is a warning. And it denotes the number of days for which the user get warnings of changing their password before it actually expires. You remember, you see, when you log into the system and when the password is about to expire, it start giving you some kind of warning. The same warning is actually set here in the shadow file. The seventh field is of password expiry, contains the maximum allowable number of days for the user to be able to log in with the expired password. It could be 1, 2, 3, or whatever you want to set for that particular user. Field 8 is for account expiry, determines the number of days since the Linux system when the user account will expire and no longer be available. The last one is reserved for future use. So that was all about the user add, user mod, and shadow and password file. And last one we will learn the userdel command. It's simple. Whenever you want to delete an account, you simply use userdel. -r is used to remove the home directory as well. If we don't use -r, then the home directory will not be deleted, and you can't even use that home directory. That would be a redundant file on the Linux. So just to reduce the space, we should always use -r in order to remove the home directory as well. So I'm gonna remove both test user and test user 2, and there is another test profile that is see here is test user 5. Let me remove all of them using the single command. Let's see what happened here. ID test user, hopefully it is deleted. ID test user 2, it's still there. Okay, so we can't delete multiple users, so we have to delete them individually. Let's run the userdel command again. This time I will try to remove test user 2. Okay, this time I will try to delete test user 5. Now let me check ID for test user 2. No such user. Then test user 5. Again, no such user. So we were able to delete all three users using the userdel command. So friends, I mean, this is the end of the video. We learned user mod, user add, and user del commands, and we also learned about the shadow files and the password file. Hope you liked my video. And if you have any question, please do mention that in the comment section, and I would be happy to help. And I will definitely answer those questions. And do not forget to subscribe my channel. Thank you for watching the video.